Hello and welcome to my review on the brand new 2024 10-foot Mayor's Town Car Inflatable from Gemmy. This is carried by yardinflatables.com as shown here on the box and retails for $199.95. It first became available Wednesday, July 17th, beginning with 200 in stock, a number that has since reduced to a little over 150. I expect it to sell well as the Mayor's Town Car is certainly a staple from the 1993 classic, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and was long overdue in becoming an outdoor decoration. TNBC has received some fantastic holiday products over the years, but recently that has slowed down a bit, so this was somewhat a shot in the arm for the license. There are barely any new NBC inflatables in 2024, and the animatronics comprise of nothing but redesigns, unmet potential, and just plain letdowns. Now I, along with other inflatable enthusiasts, have been asking for a Mayor's Town Car for years, so the fact this sits before me is, I'll admit, quite gratifying. Features include 8 LED C7s, a screen-printed mayor sitting behind the wheel, and 5 other movie characters. This did ship in a white box per it being online only, but what's interesting is the inner box is almost identical to the outer. It's the first time that I've seen that, which makes me question if it's a new standard, though only time will tell. In the meantime, we'll get our mayor's car unboxed and continue with the review. Equipped with the YEF 125, I'll be honest, I was near convinced this would have an 80 instead. We know there's no animation, so on paper it doesn't necessarily need the strong motor it has, but as we'll find out later in the review, it in fact does. Now the stake pack consists of 4 of everything, so you've got 4 spiral stakes, 4 plastic stakes, 4 tethers, and finally 4 metal base stakes. I personally would swap out half of them, being the spiral and the base stakes. These are always way too flimsy, and the spiral stakes just aren't worth the effort. To elaborate, each spiral stake corresponds to one of the wheels, but when those wheels inflate, the tether loop remains flush with the ground, and since the spiral stake needs its neck sticking out just a bit, a sod staple would work better in this particular case. I've also secured all tethers, though they definitely don't serve as big of a purpose on this inflatable as they do on others. Because we're dealing with a car rather than a tall, top-heavy figure, they might prevent a bit of bobbling when it's windy, but that's about it. I've kept you guys waiting long enough. It's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's get our mayor car plugged in and ready for the fun. Taking almost a full minute to inflate, I'm not all too surprised, granted the size of it. 10 feet isn't a dramatic width, but when coupled with a height of 8, with so much volume in between, the Mayor's Town Car makes a serious statement. What I love about the proportions is that though this is really meant to be seen from an elevation view, that hasn't affected Gemmy in maintaining a proper ratio. It's by no means narrow, which at a glance I suspect someone would be worried about, so I'm glad I can squash any concerns. Before we move away from the dimensions, for those curious, I have measured areas that aren't specified in the description on Yard Inflatables. For example, the car itself is about 5'4" before shock takes over, Jack's whole body is 5 feet when you count his hand, and Zero's nose is just shy of 4.5 feet. If you'd like to know the scale for anything else, please drop me a comment below. Now diving into some of our incredible details, the first thing most will notice are these vivid red curtains taking up the right half of our car. Sadly, they are not screen printed at the back, but sure do look phenomenal from the front, or I guess the side. Next, Gemmy has even represented lug nuts on the wheels. They've added flat pieces of fabric to mimic a step up for getting into the vehicle. There are white stripes on the windshield to allude to glass, and then of course the two-dimensional mayor at the helm. How Gemmy chose to showcase the mayor is without a doubt the most controversial part of this design. With him having only one inflatable to his name, I feel this was an opportunity for those who missed out on the one at Lowe's in 2019 to finally get an inflatable with him in it, and I'm afraid this comes up just short. There are several alternatives to how they could have done the mayor, but the most realistic would be to have his head lean out the window. It would have been super easy for them to do and would keep the consistency of every character actually inflating. I fear Gemmy wanted to make up for that by the needless throwing of those very characters. Frankly, if the only individual present were the mayor himself, I'd be perfectly content. It's much more accurate to the movie and would not look so cluttered. Gemmy has been known to associate lock, shock, and barrel with the mayor before, so that could possibly explain why they're included, but Jack and Zero appear even more of an afterthought. Their inclusion bugs me as not only do they draw attention away from the car, but they are not in scale with each other at all. The first reason I think anyone would want to purchase an Airblown Mayorstown car is to pair it with the rest of their NBC inflatables in their display. I understand Gemmy wanting this to be a scene all unto itself, but in my experience, most people prefer standalone designs more. Now, to use one of the 2 zippers this has, we'll take a look at the lighting inside. We established earlier there are 8 C7s, but as far as the location, you have 1 in every character, 1 in the horn, and the final 2 are behind the curtains in the Mayor. I'd have loved it if they put 1 in each headlight, maybe made them blink, but that could be modified later. To wrap up, the car itself does inflate very tight, but if this did end up having a YF80, I think that'd be problematic as at the front, with some of the smaller parts of the car, there'd be much more crinkles than there are already, but thanks to the YF125, that's not so noticeable. And now we'll conclude my review on the new 2024 10-foot Mayorstown car from Yard Inflatables. I understand I was a bit more meticulous, though by being an avid Nightmare Before Christmas fan, and also just a reviewer of these products, it's kind of my job. I need to let you know if $200 is worth it or not, and it's got the wow factor. It is certainly a statement piece, so it's just up to you if you think this needs to belong in your collection. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching my review. Until next time, I'll see you later. Peace out. Bye.